SGC here, and we're back with a movie review. The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1. Directed by Francis Lawrence, the previous director of Catching Fire, so the previous Hunger Games film. He is back again. And this time, the same casting around. We have some newcomers, check down below, and two actually stay behind, check down below. So what's it about this time? Well, basically it's about the aftermath of the Catching Fire, where Peeta is now in the capital, and Katniss is in District 13, and she has to somehow rally the troops of the entire place, I forgot the name, of this place to rally against the capital to fight. And obviously she's very like, oh my god, what happened to me? Like, where's Peeta? What is this? And basically the entire movie is talking about how to get Katniss to speak in front of the crowd, to gather their spirits, to bond and fight together against this capital regime. And that's the entire film. So what did I think? Well, first of all, rest in peace, Philip Seymour Hoffman. It's just a sad time to finally see in the last movie you probably did. I'm not sure what else you did, but just to know that you fit a role in this franchise and you're just not with us anymore, it's sad stuff. So anyway, while we're on the topic of Hoffman, he was great. I really did enjoy his acting in this in terms of just the entire context of the rest of the film. He was like the sort of the humor here where he just totally believed in Katniss, where Julianne Moore was just, who the heck is this woman? Or this girl? This child? How is she gonna band our troops together? And Hoffman's like pretty chill about it and goes like, we got this. We have totally got this. Don't worry about it. And I really loved his, just whenever he's on screen, I enjoyed his screen time. Also, Elizabeth Banks, again, she has just a crazy woman here, and she's really jarring in contrast and foils everybody else around her, and I just really enjoyed her screen time as well. And that is all. This movie for me was very hard to watch. Like, I had no expectations. I had negative expectations. I knew it was just going to be a talking film, the action's going to save for part 2, and I was like, okay, so seeing the success of Hobbit Part 2, I felt that it could have been somewhat there. But no. Mockingjay Part 1 really has no anything. Like, for me, it did not feel like a film. For me, it felt like Katniss was all sad about everything, and I'm like, sure, I give you that. But give me an actual film structure. Because, seriously, this entire film, Part 1, could have been sped up and dealt with in the first half an hour of Part 2, probably. Most likely. Because there's a lot of things that don't matter and they focus on, and it's just, so why do we care? And they add all these new characters that aren't developed whatsoever. They try to sell Natalie Dormer as a badass in advertisements, and she shows up as an director, and she's not an action sort of gal, but rather I'm just like, yeah, I got this shot right here, you know, let's take this. And it's just kind of cheesy and just, who is this woman? And Julianne Moore is just Julianne Moore. I mean, there's nothing much coming from her. Like, sure, she has some, like, crazy emotional speeches and all, but I seriously think that anyone could have said those speeches. Because it's just contextualized. You know, you gotta be a good speaker. You know, these people, you know, District 13 don't matter to me at all, because they're no new, and I don't know. I'm in the shoes of Katniss. I have no idea what's going on, and she's just emotional, and I can't even ask her for help now. Because, I mean, seriously, in Hunger Games Part 1... No, sorry, Part 1. Hunger Games and Hunger Games Catching Fire. There were the things called the Hunger Games. There were your excitement and your conflicts and everything, and there was your growth. And also we have the capital in the first two movies, where you see this jarring difference between the capital and the rest of the world. And it's like, ooh, people that are so weird and just interesting to look at, and just like, whoa, why do they feel this way? Awesome stuff. I really, for lack of a better word, enjoy those aspects of those first two movies. And we have none of that here. We have no capital. We have Elizabeth Banks, who has no capital garments, so she's just really plain, really. Capital, we have Snow showing up once here or twice, but it's just like, it's just him. We need everybody else. There's not much of that. There is no Hunger Games itself, which is ironic because Hunger Games exists in the name of this movie title. And yeah, I don't really have much to say about this film because it wasn't really a film. Like, sure, some people out there have told me they adapted the book really well. Well, that's great then. I mean, if you adapted the book really well, that means you didn't really put anything forward in terms of showing other things. Like, you could have fixed things that didn't work well in the book. Not saying that I read the book. I have not read the book. And you just make it more creative in a sense. Make the character stronger, or maybe borrow things that happened in the later half and just infused it here. Like what Game of Thrones did with Bran. Like, his storylines don't even exist until book 5, but yet they finished him already and he doesn't show up for season 4. Like, have that, borrow. You have this power because you split the movie in 2. And it's just like, why didn't you? Like, I know that the part 1 is actually adapting the first half of the book, and I'm like, okay, that's great. Like, I mean, you actually did the whole half thing with a book. Now, legitimizing part 1 and part 2. Now, great, part 2 is where all the action is in the movies and in the books. So part 1 is dry as a desert. Beside, you know, Katniss being super emotional and all, and just finding dogs and trying to film her, and just action, not much there. Like, definitely, I think that we just gave the benefit of the doubt. I said, hey, I watched the first 2 movies, so I'm going to watch part 1. Hoping for the best. And even with reviews coming out, I was just like, I watched the first 2, and I want to see how it ends, and there's part 1 and part 2, so to watch part 2, I most likely am obligated to watch part 1. So I did it. And expectations were what I expected. It was below ground, and I was like, yep, nothing actually happened in this film, and I can't believe it was just that. Like, could you have at least tried to make it into a film sort of thing? Like, that would have been appreciated. Just make it into a film structure. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty sad, because I enjoyed somewhat of Hunger Games and Catching Fire. It was at least like, oh, there's these cool stuff that I was like, I can take and pull and go like, hey, I like this stuff in the movie. But here, it's just like, I think I like this of this entire film. Or is it even a film? So there you have it. People, please look at Mockingjay Part 1 as an example of what not to do when you have part 1s of films. Like, literally, do not save everything that's going to be amazing about your film or franchise in part 2, because you gotta feed people correctly. You're not giving them anything. And it's just like, hey, you're in part 2? We have like amazing food there, but you have to get through a piece of cardboard of something I have no idea where it came from first. Then we can have a year later, then we can enjoy part 2. Like who would do that? I would just show up for part 2 rather than part 1, but I did for part 1. And seriously, Mockingjay, thank you for existing, so now everyone knows what not to do. Really. And that's pretty much it. I have nothing much to say. I mean, you can bash me all you want, but I'm just like, this is how I feel about the film. I was like, it's not really a film. It's just them talking about issues. Like, sure, there is some craziness when you think about it, like all of this, I don't know if it's PTSD or whatever that Katniss is going through, and there's all this, like, problems that she has to rile the band up, and it's just like, okay. But there was a lot of underdevelopment. I mean, there could have been a lot more development. I don't know why they were grasping for straws to make the movie. I mean, there could have been so much character development. There were new characters. You can make them, like, exist and matter, but you really didn't. So, that's it. I'm done. Mockingjay, Part 1. If you have seen it, leave me a comment down below. If you liked it, if you have read the book, if you liked it, if you didn't, leave a comment down below. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. And that's pretty much it for this movie review of The Hunger Games, Mockingjay Part 1. Out.